All right, welcome back, everybody. So we have with us Elizabeth Millner, Law&Crime's in-court reporter, who's been there every day for the action, every day of testimony. And we have so many questions coming in now for Elizabeth. Elizabeth, really good to see you. Before I even go to the more substantive questions, let me give you some praise that we got here. This is from Morty von Eltberg. Thank you. Please let Jesse know if he's ever in Atlanta. I would love to have a cocktail or 12 with him. Also, you all are amazing. That's very sweet. Gene Sluter says, I want my own Jesse and Elizabeth to break down everything in my life for me. Well, that is just disaster. I don't think you want that, but it's very, very kind. All right, so we got the first question from Fabiola Delgado Lebron. Queen Elizabeth, did the defense look stressed during testimony?
Not one bit. I personally didn't think that they seemed stressed during today's testimony, especially once Brendan Paul got on the witness stand. I was kind of thinking that the testimony overall would go one direction, especially given the lawsuit. But given that we saw him kind of testify today, it didn't even go the way I kind of thought it was going. And that's one of the biggest things about this case specifically is you think it's going to go in one direction, then it goes into another direction. So from what I could tell, the defense didn't seem stressed. And I don't want to say that they didn't seem stressed and like they were so like calm, cool, and collective in an arrogant way. It was nothing like that, but it seems like, especially as we're kind of getting towards the end of trial here, that they don't seem as stressed as maybe people may think they are. But again, you know, we never know what's going on through their heads and that type of sort. But from what I could tell, they seem kind of still, you know, pretty surface level as far as just the feelings of emotions from what I could tell sitting inside the courtroom.
Question from Denise Lopez. Elizabeth, how was the tension in the room when Brendan Paul testified? And did he make eye contact with Diddy?
I didn't think that there was going to be a tense moment between the two, especially given kind of the demeanor it's been with other assistants testifying. And so because Diddy wasn't present when Brendan Paul got his immunity deal outside of the presence of the jury, I thought there might be kind of a big moment where maybe Brendan Paul didn't even want to look in Diddy's direction while he kind of approached the witness stand. But from what I could see of him, Diddy did kind of what he normally does when maybe a compelling witness might come up and testify. He kind of turned around in his defense chair and he kind of watched Brendan Paul take the witness stand. But I couldn't feel like necessarily a tense atmosphere as opposed to maybe when Jane was testifying or even as far as when Cassie was testifying. But from what I could tell, even when Brendan Paul got off the witness stand, I think he kind of looked in Diddy's direction. I don't think there was kind of like just like a nod to one another, a smile to one another from what I could see. But it didn't feel as tense as maybe I thought it was going to be when he entered the courtroom.
So I have two questions for you that are very similar. They're about Sean Combs because you are our eyes and ears. There are no cameras in that courtroom. There is no audio equipment in that courtroom. But listen to this from Joe Lucas. Elizabeth, great reporting. Feels like I'm there. I mean, what better compliment can you get than that? So Joe Lucas asks, what is Diddy's demeanor like today as it's coming up to the end of the prosecution's case? And RD asks, Elizabeth, have you seen Combs look at the jury much since he got in trouble? Remember, he did get in trouble with the judge after a really, I would say, beneficial moment of cross-examination of a key witness in this case. He was accused of nodding at the jury. So what's his demeanor like, and has he been looking at the jury?
Well, I'll take the second question first. Yes, I did see him kind of looking over towards the jury's direction today during testimony, but not kind of as animated as maybe he has been in the past as far as nodding goes and all of that stuff. I really just kind of think I saw him just looking in their direction maybe to get, maybe what their demeanor was, kind of listening to all these text messages, listening to Brendan Paul testify again too. But as far as just his demeanor overall, it's still kind of the same thing. As if he's feeling any type of worry or anxiety about what the future may hold, I haven't been seeing that necessarily. And again, not in like a cocky or an arrogant type of way, but really just kind of maybe possibly a more poker face kind of way, where if there's any type of emotional feeling that he is having and, it's not reading over his face, maybe it's in his mind, it's something that we're not seeing. But as far as just his demeanor overall, he kind of is still doing what he's been doing. He's taking his notes, he's listening to testimony, he's jotting his notes down to his defense attorneys. The few moments that I do see him kind of, maybe beam up in a sense is when he sees his family inside the courtroom. So kind of turning around, saying hello to his son, saying hello to his mom, his sister. But as far as any type of worrisome demeanor, I haven't seen that, but you never know what's going on through his mind.
Are they there today? Is his family there?
Yep, his family is here today. I saw his sons, just Justin and Christian Combs today, his sister Keisha, his mom, Janice, and then of course his friend Charlucci, who's been inside that courtroom pretty much as I've been. Even before the trial began, he was always attending those pretrial hearings too. So he did have his support system inside the courtroom today too.
We got this question from Ilana Rodriguez. I absolutely love Jesse and Elizabeth. Oh, they're both great. And Jesse, I love the hair. Thank you so much. Question, Elizabeth. So this is important because we found this out. It was actually shocking. We found it out, 15 minutes ago? Elizabeth, when will the trial be over? And when will the prosecution government be done with their case? I mean, we just found out when this is basically going to wrap up, right?
Yes, we did. And it's coming closer to an end pretty much faster than I was expecting to. So because we didn't have court the full day on Wednesday, and of course we had the day off yesterday, it kind of pushed the government's case back just a little bit. So they plan on wrapping up this final summary witness on Monday. Then the cross-examination will happen. That'll probably take a few hours. And then the government plans on resting their case as early as Monday. So that could be a big difference. I think probably the biggest thing though, Jesse, is that the defense says that they plan that their case will be a lot shorter than expected. Now, originally, Mark Agnifilo was saying, okay, maybe it might be 2 to 5 trial days that they were planning for the defense case. But he was saying, as far as just when the defense plans on resting their case in chief, that could happen as soon as Tuesday or Wednesday. And then, of course, there has to be kind of a conference about jury instructions, all of that stuff. But the judge is saying that we could possibly have closing arguments on Thursday of next week. So that is coming up very fast. And then given, jury deliberations, all of that stuff, a lot of things are moving pretty fast. Even though it was kind of a slow end to finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, it's like, bam, the light's here. We're almost wrapping this case up, and it could happen as soon as next Thursday.
We were talking about this. So if they really think they're going to wrap up their defense's case, A, it doesn't look like Sean Combs is planning to testify. And B, and this is something I'll ask my panelists in a little bit, defense might feel pretty good about their case. They might feel that they don't need to call as many witnesses as they first thought. And through cross-examination or some of the problematic messages and alleged behavior of the witnesses in this case, they might feel reasonable doubt has already been raised. This is a question from @Tia215. Question for Elizabeth Millner. Christina Corum's name has been up every day of this trial. Will she be coming in?
It doesn't seem that way. It doesn't seem like the defense plans on calling her, and with the government resting their case on Monday, it doesn't seem like they're going to be calling her either. And it's interesting because we have been hearing so much about her. We've been seeing her exhibit photos. We've been hearing her text messages from her devices that were turned over. But as far as seeing an appearance from her, either inside the courtroom or as a supporter of Diddy's, or even inside as a witness for either the defense or the government, we're not getting that, it seems like, from where we're kind of going and where we're at in the case. And so it's pretty disappointing. I was hoping to hear from her just in any type of context, whether it be as a defense witness, whether it be as a government witness, but it doesn't seem like either side plans on calling her, which is pretty disappointing. I really just was hoping, and I think a lot of people were hoping, to know what she has to say just about all of this altogether.
If I had to take a guess, I would say within the first day of jury deliberations, those jurors are going to ask themselves, any idea why she wasn't called? I have to imagine they're wondering that. It's a question we're wondering because her name has come up almost every single day in testimony. And you wonder whether or not the prosecution felt that it might be a weakness to their case. Defense might say, we don't want to call her. She's not going to help us in any way. Her messages may tell more of the story. Elizabeth, I want to play you something. So we talked about this before. There is this newly released audio tape of Cassie Ventura Fine that has come up. Now, this came up during her testimony where she is allegedly threatening this man over him viewing a sex tape of a freak-off, something of that nature. We were talking about, does it help the prosecution or the defense? This came up during her testimony, but this is the first time that we, the public, have heard it. Let me play a quick portion of it, and I'm happy to have you on because I want you to correct some misinformation there is about what this tape is. You're going to put it into context for us. So let me play it real quick.
No, you playing games, and now we're never. Now all my friends can go, and we can stay here. All right. Everybody can go, and we're gonna stay here. Everybody heard. So they're all leaving, and we're staying here until you show me that. I'm going to kill you. You don't understand. I don't give I've never killed anybody in my life, but I will kill you because you're with me. With me in my life right now. If I saw a video of you doing anything that you didn't want people to see, I would show you the video so you could tell me what the happened. You're playing games with me, telling me you saw now you're saying you didn't see some you with me. I'm going to you up. I don't think you understand. And it's not going to be my hands, and it's not going to be blood on my hands. Someone else is going to do it. So you have to tell me right now, and I'm recording this whole FYI, tell me what the you're talking about.
Elizabeth, put into context for us why that's so important and how it came up.
Yeah, so this particular audio recording came up, and it's pretty interesting. I feel like it can kind of work on both sides, right? Either the prosecution side or the defense's side, because when Cassie was on the witness stand, she was very quiet, she was very soft-spoken. Then the jurors heard this audio where you can see that she's pretty amped up. Why? Because the person that she is kind of confronting in this particular audio recording was someone who conveyed to her that they saw some sexually explicit videos of her, and Cassie wanted to know how they got this video, and this was specifically to, I think he was a club promoter, his name is Sujit, and she was just confronting him about how he got this information, how he got this video, and then just where this video is and how come he's not showing her this particular sexually explicit video. So I've been seeing just some kind of conversations about this particular audio recording where people are saying it's Cassie confronting an escort. That is not the case. This was somebody that Cassie honestly considered a friend who was telling her about this particular audio or this video that he saw of her, and it, again, being and the video was sexually explicit. And so Cassie was just confronting them. Why I say it could possibly work on the defensive side is because you can hear Cassie in that video just kind of threatening to kill, and not even threatening to kill, but also threatening to kill, and it won't be at her hands, possibly implying that she can get somebody else to do it for her. And so I think the audio recording, again, can kind of go both directions depending on, I guess, the way the individual is kind of interpreting this particular message, because of course, if somebody sees a sexually explicit video of you and you want to confront that person, you're going to be pretty mad, you're going to be pretty amped up. But it kind of also works in the defense's favor, because they can also be like, okay, well, you're saying that somebody else can, get violent with this particular person, and it seems like you're kind of making it seem that maybe you could get somebody else, maybe on Diddy's side, to kind of commit this violence on your behalf, that type of thing. And so I believe the audio recording is from 2014-ish of when that was taken. And so yes, this was an audio recording that we have heard it play out in court before, but now it is being released to the public. I think it was the defense who released this particular audio recording too.
I think you're right about that. Obviously, it helps them a lot, but as I talked about, there was a different way the prosecution can ultimately frame it. Hey, she was so concerned about these tapes coming out, and Diddy allegedly was blackmailing her, threatening to release tapes too. That goes to her fear. Maybe more of a stretch. But Elizabeth Millner, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and I'm going to see you later on today on Sidebar.
See you then.
See you then. All right, Tyler, I want to go back to you. There was something that I mentioned before. If the defense has now shortened their case and they're only going to have a few days of bringing witnesses, does that signal to you that they feel confident that enough reasonable doubt has been raised that they don't need to put on more of a defense?
I think it does. I think it shows that the defense feels confident in their cross-examination, and I think they probably believe that the prosecution's witnesses have been weak, that the government case isn't that strong. And just to give you an example on some of those points, they're the ones who introduced this tape of Miss Ventura. They could say that, look, this is the real Miss Ventura you heard on audio, not the victim who was pregnant on the stand earlier in this case. So they're going to try to attack the witnesses some more, probably through some evidence that they put up in their case in chief. But just telling the judge here that they expect 2 days worth of testimony logically has to signal that they're confident in their the lack of the strength in the government's case, because they do not have to put up any evidence. They're not required to, and they must feel like they have a good case.